Hello, creative friends. This is Joy coming to you with another art journal page. On this particular art journal page, I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew is that I wanted to put some scraps of paper down on the page to add some interest to the background. So I grabbed a bunch of scraps out of my scrap box that I have where whenever I have scraps from other projects, I kind of toss them in there and then I'll, use them on other projects whenever I decide I need a scrap of paper for something. So these are just some scraps of pattern paper, book pages, and maps that I had in a scrap box. And I'm interweaving these together to add some, like I said, interest to the page in the background. And I didn't know, like I said, what I wanted to do with this page. I just knew that I wanted to make some kind of a interesting background and then put something over top of it. I'm just using a glue stick to quickly adhere these strips and pieces down to the page, and then that way it hold it long enough so that I can go over the whole thing with some watered down gesso. And as I was putting these different pieces of paper down, one of the book pages I saw on there where it had some text about a bird singing, and it's the one I'm putting down now, or not that one. I think it's the next one. But it had some text on there about birds singing, and it got me to thinking about birds. And so that one there that I just put down. So then I thought, well, that, you know, sounds interesting. Maybe I'll put a bird on this page. I've been putting birds on my art journal pages quite a bit here lately, but, I figure what the heck, I can, if I feel like putting a bird on there, I guess I could put a bird on there and maybe look through my stash of quotes and try to come up with a quote or a title or something that I could put on this page. So that's kind of what I was thinking and where I was going with as I was, putting this together and putting this down. So now that I got all of the pages down, I grab my gesso, and whenever my gesso gets down to where like it's almost gone, I will add water to it to water it down so it's not so thick, because a lot of times I use it more watered down on top of layers so that you can see when it dries the layers underneath. And that kind of just helps push things into the background and tones things down a little bit. And here I decided to take a baby wipe and just kind of rub some of it off of the papers that I had put down so that you could see it more. So here's the bird that I decided that I wanted to put on this page. And sometimes, when I don't really feel like taking the time to draw and paint a bird, or, whatever it is I want to put on a journal page, I'll just cut it out and glue it down. But this particular day, I just felt like, drawing it on there and painting it. So, I mean, I could have just cut it out and stuck it on there if I wanted to. And, it would have been a lot quicker, to get it done if I did it that way. But, I like to draw and I, enjoy painting and stuff. And some days I have more time than others. So if I have, time to spend on an art journal page, I really enjoy drawing and painting the focal point myself, or the focal whatever picture I'm going to have on the page myself. But that's not always the case. Sometimes, I don't have a whole lot of time to spend on an art journal page, and sometimes, I'll just cut something out and put it down. But that's what I decided, to do with this, to spend the time to draw out the bird and to paint it on there. And plus, I wanted the bird on this picture that I was using as a reference is gray and the flowers are white, and I really wanted to make it more colorful than that. So you'll see here, when I go to paint it and stuff, that I make it a lot more colorful than what it shows in the picture. But I used the picture as a reference just to draw the bird. So now that I've got the bird drawn out, I decided that I like the flowers. So I'm just drawing some reference stems, I guess, to where the flowers might be. So I decided that I wanted the background blue, and I've got these Dylusion paints that I've been having so much fun with. So I thought, okay, I'll use the colors are so pretty. I'll use that for the background, and I was sprayed the page with water to help. And there I go. I spray it again to help the paint do two things. One is to thin it out because I don't want it so thick that it covers up like the paper and everything I put on here. And two, to help it, move around, help me to move it around on the page a lot easier. So that's why you see me spraying water on the page, just to kind of help, get the blue on there as thin as I wanted it to be, and also to make it easier to move it around on the page. And I decided that that one little bit of text that had the quote on there about birds singing, that I wanted it to stand out more than the rest, so I rubbed some of the blue paint off of that particular text area so that you can kind of see, what it says. So here I've got some brown acrylic paint that I pulled out to paint the stem or the limb or whatever, the branch that the bird is sitting on. And I do, looking at the picture here, I don't do any fancy painting or anything on it. I just use the brown paint to paint, the stem. Sometimes I'll add like a little bit of black or a little bit of white to give it some shadow and some highlight, but I didn't really bother with all that on this page. I just painted it on there and with the brown acrylic paint and just left it at that. So I decided that I wanted, like I said, this bird to be colorful and this journal page to be more colorful. So here I decided to use the pink Dylusions paint to paint the flowers on here. And I'm basically just getting paint on my brush and pressing it against the page to make the little petals. Nothing fancy here. I believe I did like 4 and 5 petals, and then on some I did 3 to make, it look like, the flower from the side. And I do cut some of this out because, this took a little bit of time to go through and add all of these little flowers on here that I wanted to add. So I didn't think that, you guys would want to sit through that whole thing. So you see here where I've added all the little pink flowers onto this page that I wanted to add. And I really like the way that this page turned out. It turned out really cute. And then I have these 3 paints, which is the turquoise, the lime, and then the I think it's called grass, cut grass is the green. And so I decided to paint the bird green with the lime green and then the darker green. And I do add a little bit of the turquoise in the bird just to kind of give it a little bit more color and interest. But I basically paint the whole bird with the lime green as you see here. And I could still see my lines underneath, my pencil lines. This paint is a little bit opaque so you can see through it. And so that kind of helped because then I was able to, paint over everything as you saw there. And then I could still see where, I drew the wing and all that. So here I'm going over it with the darker green, just adding some color into the body and the wings of the bird. And like I said, I really like the way this page turned out. It turned out really cute. And I'm trying not to, obviously cover up all of the lime green that I had put down originally. I still want to be able to see that. And then here I go in with touches of turquoise on the wings and on the tail. And I did speed this up, but I did leave in, showing you how I went about painting this bird. Because some people, they kind of like to see, because I know I like to see how people go about painting things. And so, I figured I'd leave it in if anybody's interested in seeing, how I went about painting the bird. And, if not, they don't want to see all that, they can skip ahead. So now I got the basic, colors down on the bird, and I'm using the same brown that I used for the branch to paint the beak and the eye. And so I do the eye with the brown and the legs. But when I did the legs, it kind of blended in with the branch because, of course, I'm using the same brown color as I did the branch. So I did end up grabbing some black acrylic paint, and I added, a line and then a little dot to the nose of the bird, a line to separate the mouth or the beak, and a dot for the nose. And then I added some of the black to the brown for the legs so that they would stand out and be darker than the branch. And then, of course, I added black on the eye with, a little white dot. And I added, as you can see here, I'm adding some white highlights to the tips of the feathers on the wing and on the tail. But I did end up going through my stash of quotes and titles and words and things, and I found this one title that says, "Love will always carry you through," and I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. So I put that down on the page. I thought that seemed like a nice title or what not to put on this page. And this video turned out to be one of the longer videos because I did take the time to draw and paint the bird. Like I said, sometimes I don't have the time or don't want to take the time to, spend that much time on a journal page, so I'll cut out the image and stick it down. But other times when I do have more time, I like to draw and paint the focal point myself. So here I'm going into the middle of the flowers with some of the white, which against the pink, it really didn't, look stark white. And of course I skipped ahead on that because I'm sure, you don't want to sit and watch me just put dots in the middle of flowers because that takes time. So then I grabbed a fine tip felt tip pen to trace around the bird and the wings and the feathers and everything. My felt tip pens, boy, I have a time with them because for some reason, well, I shouldn't say for some reason, I kind of think I know. My felt tip pens, sometimes I will use them before paint's completely dry, and which is probably what I'm doing here. And then it dries on the tips and, kind of messes the pen up. But it seems like, every time I go to use it again, it doesn't seem to want to work. So then I have to find another one that will work. But yeah. But anyway, so I just use I think this is just a marker, whatever, that I used on this bird to outline it and to, outline, like I said, the feathers on the wings and the tail. And I put the black in the eye with that. And then I believe, what did I use? Yeah, just some paint to put a dab of white on the eye. And then I used a little bit of the white to outline the eye and put a little bit of white on the beak. For some reason, it just really made a difference. I think that it made a lot of difference. Put that little bit of white on there. And here I'm using the marker to go around the beak. So at first I didn't trace around it, thinking, well, it's dark brown. I don't know if I need to trace around it. So here's a title that I found to put on this page. So that's, pretty much the page, and then I trace around that. But if you like the videos I put out, you can like or subscribe to my channel to see any future videos that come out. Or you can leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. But that is pretty much the art journal page for today. And yep, here I'm tracing around the title that I found in my stash. It says, "Love will always carry you through." So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will talk to you guys again next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.